Hello, hi Selena.
Hi, how are you?
I am okay. How are you?
There was a bleep there for a second when you said, "Oh, Isolina." I was like, "What's happening?" I just knew. I'm like, "Not another thing tonight, Lavenda."
Oh
How are
my
you tonight?
goodness. I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
here and I am. You know what? If people only knew what went on behind the scenes, I
I
wonder
know.
how people like newscasters
Hmm.
wake up every morning or every day at 5 o'clock. They're in front of the public
Right. Right.
every day with that same look. It's got to be a
Hmm.
mask because they do have lives.
It is.
They do.
You can't
They
tell.
do.
I'm not talking about the COVID-19 mask.
A mass period. But
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to our guests. We welcome you, viewers, for checking in tonight and spending a little time with The Other Woman magazine. For those who are new to The Other Woman, it is a magazine that is published 3 times a year. And the magazine is The Other Woman. It does have,
New to the other woman.
do I
It is
hear
a
an
magazine
echo?
published three
Hi, Selena.
times a year. And the magazine
Okay.
is
The
the other
magazine
woman.
has different subtitles for every issue. This was the debut issue that I'm showing now, Exposed and Uncovered. And the Other Woman magazine was published, or should I say, birthed out of, I say out of my divorce, but it was actually 5 or 6 years after I chose to leave a 20-year marriage. And I
Hmm.
realized that life was so full around me, but I wasn't
Hmm.
living life. And I wanted an opportunity to live a life that I felt like I was missing. So The Other
Right.
Woman magazine is all about a woman living a fulfilled life, not a full life, not a busy
Hmm.
life, but a
Hmm.
life full of meaning. And the mission statement
Right.
is, it is my mission to help you discover the silenced and often suppressed woman resting
Hmm.
within and infuse a desire to live courageously without reservation or regrets.
Hmm.
My name is Lavender Williams, author, publisher of The Other Woman magazine, and owner of Candy Publishing. And my co host tonight is Miss Iceline Taylor, who is founder of Titus 2 Reloaded. Now, Icelina, how would you introduce yourself? If you had to be introduced, what would be the words that you would want to be used?
Introducing me, I am a mother, and I am a grandmother, and I am also a friend. That's how I introduce me because as a mother, I have my children, 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. I have my grandchildren, and I'm a friend to all who's friendly. And so, for that reason, that is my introduction of me. I love life. I'm a Christian most of all.
Okay. Now, you told us a little bit about what you do. Now, listen to this, and this is for everybody watching. Who you are, and I had to learn this myself, who you are, who we are, has very little to do with what we do.
That's right.
So,
I remember.
especially as women, we tend to share that we're a mother,
Mm-hmm.
we're a wife or not, what we do, we put these labels on ourselves when it really
Mm.
doesn't identify who we are, but that is how we're identified in the flesh. That is how we're
Right.
identified in society,
Mm-hmm.
even our name. So the whole idea of the other woman and going deeper is to get beneath the surface of what we see in the mirror, because that's just a small portion, a very small portion of who we
Right.
are. And we get caught up with um, the issues of life. We can be so
Mm-hmm.
consumed with what we're going through, with what our children are
Mm-hmm.
going through, with our finances, with our health issues. We get so consumed with that where we don't realize it. Beneath all
Mm-hmm.
of that stuff lies a being that is never tapped into or rarely tapped into because we're so busy living that we forget about life itself. So that person beneath us, and that's you all, I'm not sharing anything that I didn't have to learn myself. And this was a whole thing about the other woman is I was almost at the end of my 50s before I realized that I had one life to live. And that's when I started living. When you realize, truly realize that you have one life to live, that's when I, Lavender, started living. And I said, I cannot be the only woman that's been so consumed with her family, with her life, and trying to get your children's goals and get them on their journey and trying to be a support to your husband or your significant other, that you forget about self. So I listen to you. Now, you all, we don't share what we're going to talk about. This is just something that we get on. This is something we've done for a long, long time, but we decided to bring it to the public, and that is having play dates. We used to have adult play dates
Right.
and together and girl talk, real talk,
Mm-hmm.
transparency, just being real
Mm-hmm.
with one another.
Right.
So knowing ourselves is different than knowing about ourselves. And you said something right before we went live.
Okay. I said a lot of things. Let's see what you gonna say.
You
Let's
said,
see what you gonna say, Lavender.
you said you were tired of
Say the word.
I can't even get it out. You said you were tired of stopping and starting stuff.
Yeah.
You were tired, and you asked yourself, you said, what have you done? What have you done? And Iselene, I've known you for a long time. And you're very good at starting things,
Yeah.
but you don't finish them. So do you think that is now I need some tissue and I can't see, I don't have any. Do you think that is because are you doing what you're called to do, or what do you think the reason is? Do you not find time for yourself to do the things that you're required to do, or are you so consumed with life that you can't focus on what you're called to do? Because as women, we're all over the place. So why do you think that is?
Well, Lavender, I think I know, and I'm gonna take a good guess at the starting stuff and not finishing it. You said
Mm-hmm.
something earlier about when you started living.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we just exist. And so I feel like there are days when I'm just existing. And
Mm-hmm.
then there are other days where I feel like I'm living. But when I
Mhm.
start stuff, something happens. There's a bump in the road and something happens and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just done. I'm done. And before we came on, and I said that to you, I'm tired of starting stuff and not finishing. And you said something, well, do you want to counsel? What did I say? No,
Hell
no.
no.
HIJKL to the no. We're going to move on. And so it's when stuff hit us. Well, I'm talking about me. When something hits me or there's a bump in the road, for some reason I stop instead of persevere. And I have
Mm,
to stay at it. I have to stay at it. And I find myself being everything for everybody and nothing for me. Every time I stop, and I wrote it down today. I was sitting at my desk at work and I was like, oh my God, what am I, it came to me and I started writing stuff down. I swear, hell, I said, the thing is, and that's why I say I'm going to take a good guess at it. It's being everything for everybody still. When am I
mhm,
going to let the other woman come out and
mhm,
truly start living? And
mhm.
I feel like that's what it is. In my introduction, you asked me, who am I? First thing I went to, and you and I talked about this many times, many
A
times.
mother.
I'm still identified by that motherhood, that
Yeah,
grandma,
right,
friend. But who am I to Isoline? Who is
right,
Isoline?
right.
So yeah, I mean that's just it. I get that bump in the road and I'm thinking, okay, we'll just let it sit right here.
You
But then
mentioned sometimes you don't know, sometimes you're living, sometimes you're existing. That was an
mhm,
article in the debut issue. Are you
mhm,
living or existing? And it was
right.
about, I watched a movie a long time ago. This woman, she married a Jewish man, but
Mhm,
um, she was not comfortable with Jewish traditions, the Jewish
mhm,
customs. So
mhm,
she eventually got to a point where she went out, put on some jeans, purchased some
mhm,
jeans.
mhm,
She met a stranger, a man who
mhm,
made her feel like a woman,
mhm.
wearing the jeans, and she just felt herself being
Yeah.
born again, you know? And it's really not being born again. She found that woman that has
Mhm,
been suppressed. She's
mhm.
being what somebody else wanted her to be. And I think that is the most courageous thing, is to be who you want to be in life and not be what other people want you to be. But Iselina, with your 4 children, you have always had, I was thinking right before we went live, I've always said this, your life exhausts me. If we switch places,
Hell, it exhausts me.
if we switch places,
So can
now
you
you would
imagine?
probably you would probably be bored stiff with my life. You would probably be out of your mind. It's like, I don't know how she do this. I don't know how she do this, because you're a people person for one.
Right. Yeah.
And the times that I have been to your place, I mean, the telephone's ringing. It's like Grand Central Station. People are in and out, but it seems like you feed off of that. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So even when I was a mother to young boys, they're grown men now, it was all
Mhm.
about their life. The
Right. Right.
practices, sports, school, other curricular activities, friends. It was all about the family, and don't mention the husband. You
Mhm.
got to
Mhm.
be that woman. You got to be
Mhm.
those women that he needs in his life, the confidant. You got to be the wife. You got to be the sex goddess. You got to be the nursemaid. You got to be all of those things for him, with fear
Mhm.
of him finding it in another woman. So that
Absolutely.
whole other woman is about being true to yourself, finding yourself, and standing your ground. You know, I had to get to a point where I said, okay, my children are grown. I got to live for me. It's my turn. And I know my mother, sometimes she'll look at me she'll ask if I've heard from the boys or whatever. And we talk often, but sometimes I'll say, no, I haven't, and
Mhm.
they're good. Because if I haven't heard from them, I'm good. But when are we going to be Lavender and Isoline? Not mother, not sister, not daughter, not. And then that calls for some selfishness,
Right.
which we're afraid of. And so you deal with a lot of not
And
being able to be selfish.
and that I think that's it, Lavinda. But when I was out of work, of course, we talked about my me having COVID in March,
Uh-huh.
and after I was able to get outside of the house, I started running. Well, I started walking first, and I started
Hmm.
5 miles a day. And so I, along the way, I started running those miles. And that
Hmm.
was who I wanted to be. That, and it still is. And I still get out and go, and I do my 5 miles. And so I found me more out there on the street, out there walking,
Yes.
because I was able to think and I was coming to myself. And lo and behold, guess who showed up? The
Who?
children showed up. And they was like, Mama, we're going with you because I'm out there so early in the morning. I'll send them a screenshot. I'm out there 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's dark, and so I'm out there just doing my thing. But it was for me. But they always find their way in. They find a way, and
Let
I'm like,
them
oh,
know
okay,
where
yeah,
you
come
were. But you let them know where you were. You sent them a screenshot. Didn't you say that? You cannot detach yourself. But you know what? That's what we do. We'll call and
yeah.
say, "Hey, I'm
And we
going to
get
be
so
here.
used
I'm
to
going
it.
to be there." We get so used to it. We don't know
Yeah.
how to. Lordy be. Um, we
Talk
don't know
about my
how
phone.
to.
Grand Central Station.
Let me
My
turn my
God.
phone down. Let me take. Oh, that's funny. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
what was I saying? So we have to get to the point where we eventually are so sure or secure with self that we're
Mm-hmm.
selfish enough to pour into self.
Uh-huh.
Kathy says, Superwoman. That is exactly right. We always
Yeah.
try to be this Superwoman, but we're expected to be. People will say, no, no one expects you to be Superwoman, but you're not
Right.
allowed to say, I'm tired of my children. You're not
Mm-hmm.
allowed to say, I don't feel like having sex with my husband tonight. You're not
Right.
allowed to say, if you're a churchgoer, I don't feel like going to church today. You have to be spot on in every role that you play. So the other woman is about yourself, that woman
Mm-hmm.
who is up under all of those roles and titles that
Right.
doesn't get a chance to live. And let me tell you, it took leaving Pensacola, Florida, where I was for 15 years. That's where I retired,
Mm-hmm.
and deciding to move. Well, I didn't decide. I was led to move to Montgomery, Alabama, to be closer to family, closer to
Right.
my parents, aging parents. And before I found a place to live, I had to live with my parents for a year in the same room that I grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
a twin size bed with my feet hanging over the bed. Now I come from
Mm-hmm.
a 3 bedroom home with you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what in the world is going on here?
Girl, no, I
What's
can't.
going on?
Back home with
So
mama. Are you
good.
kidding me?
Back home with mom and daddy, and when you go home, you become a child again. And I will
Mm-hmm.
not forget, my father
Absolutely.
told me that I had to be home. I had to be in the house at dark when it got dark
When you
because they
move back
locked those
home,
doors. Yes. So I'm
God
like,
bless you.
okay. But it took that. It took all of those nights for me to be still and
Mm-hmm.
not have anything, not have my children, divorced, where I was separated at the time, for me to realize who I was. And it
Right.
was one of those nights in that room where the other woman came to mind.
Wow.
And
Yeah, I thought you had lost your mind at first. I said, what in the HIJKL is wrong with my friend? What is she talking about? The
and
other woman? What?
everybody did. Some people still do. But you know what? It's a spiritual thing for
Right.
me. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people cannot get past the magazine cover. They can't
Hmm.
get past the magazine cover to even realize that it is
Right.
a spiritual thing. I'm going deeper. I'm going
Hmm.
beneath the surface of the illusions that have been placed on me, the titles that have been placed on me, the roles that I take on.
Hmm.
There's a being there that wants to live. So being still enough allowed the spirit of the creator, that creative spirit, to come through and lead and direct me to the other woman, to my
Right.
home that I live in now. So if we can be still enough, like you said, that walk, you were by yourself. The shower is a good place for me. I can get lost in the shower. I don't want to come out because you're there and it's just you. You
Yeah.
know, when you pull that curtains, that world is there. That
Yeah. It's
world
right
is
there where
there,
you left it. That's
right where
right.
you live,
And
right
you
there
know,
where you left it.
just sitting there staring, waiting. But you know, Lavinda, the one thing too, girl, it's so crazy that you say that because I feel like I'm trying to run away. I'm trying to, just trying to get to a place so that I can find that solitude. And it seems
Mm.
like as soon as I begin to step into that realm, then the infiltration comes.
But it's
Here
in
come the
us.
children. Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's in
because you're
us.
so used to doing that. And just like we
Yeah.
talked last week when we talked about that baby doll thing, that's what it is.
Right.
I'm
Right.
trying to hang the baby doll back up on the shelf and
Yeah.
and move
Yeah.
forward. And nonetheless, we find ourselves going right back to that same thing again. Because I want that free time. I want I want to find me. I and I ain't crazy, y'all. Talking about when I say find me, I just want to, get into me, just be into me. And when people see that you're doing things and going places, it's like they're like, oh, okay, let me go over there. I need to, hey, mama, or hey, grandma, or nanny, yaya, sister, minister. Okay, well, she's out now. You're not allowed to say, well, she's out right now. Can I take a message for her? You can't do that. You just can't do it. And for me, I'm like, okay, I'm here. What do I do? Right before we came home, my son called me and said, Mama, can you bring me some soup? I'm like, no, I'm, about to go on in a few minutes. Well, can you do it after that? And what did I say?
Yeah, of course, baby. Of
You feel
course.
me? I'm like, oh, of course, I'll be right around there when
Yes.
I'm done. And now
Bless your
I've
heart.
obligated myself when I should find the time to just say, you know what? I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna close the door. Pull the curtains, turn out the lights, and just sit there. And I find myself, I come home now. I do come home in the afternoons, and I sit here in my office, and I just, come down, and I'll sit and read my Bible and meditate for a moment. But as soon as I'm done, as soon as I think I heard from the Lord, I'm like, okay, now it's time to get back to what you just told me not to do.
Well,
When does it stop? When does it
you
end?
know what? That stillness, and I'm going to say this the best I can. I don't want to step on any toes. Um,
When my toes and Taylor has to talk, let's talk.
that let me see. It's always there. I
Hmm.
had to learn to retreat from myself. I
Right.
was in my own way.
Hmm.
And that's the going deeper part. And a lot of people don't understand it, especially church folk,
Right.
because I'm not a traditional churchgoer. Um, Automatically, thoughts are that I left the church. I have a closer relationship, a more intimate relationship now than I ever had.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
when I realized that that quietness was deep in me,
Hmm.
covered with all the stuff, all the mess, all of life consuming me, where if I would just be still and focus on breathing, which is my
Yeah.
life source, my breath, my
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
breath, my inhale, my exhale
Hmm.
was that was giving my body activity.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even able to feel the presence of God because I was always so busy. But if we are still enough, you can actually feel it's like now they're gonna think I'm crazy, I don't care, a tingling in your
Mm-hmm.
fingers. And if you sit there long
Mm-hmm.
enough, you can just feel it throughout your body.
Yeah.
Retreating from self
Mm-hmm.
allows me to be who I am and
Mm-hmm.
find that place, that retreat
Unapologetic. Yeah.
unapologetically, where I don't have to go anywhere to go on a retreat. I don't have to go to a conference to renew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It never
Right.
leaves us. We leave it. So we get so busy with stuff. And I got
Yeah.
a friend
Yeah.
that calls it nothingness. It's just full of nothingness. And we
Yeah.
get caught up in it thinking that's life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
And it's
we are
not.
life. And it's
Exactly.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So for women that are watching that are busy, 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 when I was young in high school, I remember that's what I wanted to be when I got older. I wanted to be a woman with a briefcase and I wanted to be busy. I got to go to this meeting. I got to do this. I got to do that. I don't know where I got that image from, but I wanted to be a busy because busy meant successful in my head.
Yeah,
Now
but
that I know
not necessarily
it's the
busy.
opposite.
It is.
It's the
It is. You just
opposite.
movement doesn't actually mean that I'm busy doing what I should be doing. And I do take time for myself. Don't get me wrong. I do take time. Sometimes I'll get in my car and I'll just ride. Because
Mm.
I turn the phone off. I ride, and I find myself at a park. So I do retreat. I do retreat. It's not the
Uh-huh.
getting away, it's the coming back to. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
I often tell people, take time for yourself, because if you don't take time for yourself, nobody's going to take time for you. And the old saying, when mama's happy, everybody's happy. Well, when you take time for you, everything else is going to be fine. Because if
Hmm.
you are well, if you're doing good, then guess what? Everything that's
Everybody
attached to you is
else.
going to do good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
found that, and I found that when I was home for those months. I was home with COVID, and I try to find myself into that place. But we
Hmm.
continue. I continue, and I'll talk about me and maybe somebody else out here. I continue to find myself in that mother mode. I mean, my baby,
Mm.
for crying out loud, is 29 years old. I don't have any babies.
Mm. Hmm.
Everybody's grown.
Hmm.
But when I
Hmm.
stay away from them, and I have been, I've gotten better over the last couple of months, because I have a friend of mine that said to me, she said, "Honey, just leave them kids alone. You in too much." She just straight out, and you gotta have. Let me tell you something, ladies. I hope that you have somebody in your life that will come to you and tell you the truth. Because she said to me, she said, "You know too much about those kids. Get out of
Ooh.
their business." And that's what I
Ooh.
ended up doing. And now that I found myself getting out of their business, guess what happened? They think, "Oh, mama didn't, deserted me." And now I'm in their lives to be there to do whatever it is they want me to do. But that's not necessarily true, because they're grown. I've done my part, train them up. They know they work, do everything they need to do. They have their own places. So what else do a helicopter mom do like me? Oh, I'll be
but
right there as soon as I'm done.
but you know what? When she said you know too much about their lives, then you stepped on my toes. But that's a bond that we have with
With our
our
children,
children,
because that's
and
how
right
we
before
was
the show,
raised.
how we were raised. Right before the show, you said your son called. Well, my oldest called me right before going on live. So, I listened to him we talked for a few minutes and I said, well, I got live in on the hour, so let me go. I'm on going on with Iselina. And he said, what y'all gonna be talking about? I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
Lord, hi, Tron.
I gotta go.
You remember them
Tune
Mondays?
in. Tune
Isolina
in.
in the building. Oh my God, it's a bomb. But
But you know what? Go ahead.
it's just a debriefing we need to, I think, we need to take at times. And, you know, I am blessed to have a friend like you that's always pushing and shoving and putting on the spot. And, you know, you need somebody to do that because it makes you think in the back of your mind. And it's so ironic that, you know, when I said to you, I said, I asked myself, I'm always starting stuff, and why am I not completing it? And you said, well, Iceline, guess what we're talking about tonight? And you said, well, I don't know, I'm not going to give you any. And you didn't tell me. And then you got on here, and here we are. We're talking
Here
about that
we
very
are.
thing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
and what I was going to tell you, what I've done, I sat down at work today and I wrote down everything that I started. And I'm going to go back, I'm going to put them on my board, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to complete every one of them. Because
How far back did you
if
go?
you don't know what it feels like, I'm sorry.
How far back did you go? You said
Oh
everything
God.
that you started.
Uh, some of the things I ain't even put down, believe me. Some stuff I don't even want to complete. I want to, you know, I want to leave that over there. But you know, for the most part, I'm going to put them on my board and I'm going to mark them off one at a time. And I will complete them, regardless of what happened. And some of the things that, you know, some of the bumps in the road was legitimately a bump in the road. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that I can't complete it. What that
Yeah.
means is I need to persevere. I need to continue to move on. And that's what
Yeah.
we have to do, ladies. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. It's a bump in the road. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get up. You know, I fell down and scraped my knee, mama. Well, what did she say? Okay, baby, are you okay? Yeah. Well, get up and what? Try it again.
Mm-hmm.
So get up
Mm-hmm.
and let's do it. Let's try it again. Move on. And so that's where I am. I'm at my try it again.
And how
But in the
many
try it
times?
again, there's things that I have to take away. I got to do some takeaways. You know,
Yes.
I may lose some family members along the way. I may lose some
And
friends
some
along the way.
friends.
But
Yes.
I have to do the takeaways, you know, so
Right.
that I can
Right.
get where I need to be.
Right.
Because I found
Right.
myself while I was out there walking and running, and I found myself every day I was setting a goal and I was hitting those goals. But as soon as I got back into the workforce, the stuff that you were talking about, the stuff started coming. The stuff. And I've been talking
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, I'm tired of stuff. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even want to talk about stuff. If it's
Mm-hmm.
not stuff that's, look, me saying stuff, if it's not something that's going to pour into me and be good for me, I'm out. You know, I'm
Enhance
out.
your life, push you
Exactly.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah, honey,
And
I
that's
got enough
people
luggage
too.
myself.
Thank you. And that's people too. So I
Right.
know my own family, plus some friends, thought I was crazy for
Hmm.
moving out into the woods, moving out into the country. I mean,
Yeah, I think you're crazy
it's a
than
right,
crazy.
it's
Yeah, I think you're real crazy.
but you know what? You do what you have to do. We got one life to live. So
You're
that
right.
list that we make of things that we're going to do, and my father, he's told me so many things throughout the years. If you're
Hmm.
going to do something, you better do it now. Because look at how
Right.
old we are. Look at how old we are,
Absolutely.
Isolina.
Yeah.
So how many times are you going to keep trying? How many opportunities are you going to have to start over? Because if we lived like we truly believe tomorrow is not promised to us, we get those things done. We live like we
Wouldn't
have
you?
tomorrow. We live
That's
like we
right.
have another 5 years. So we don't live like tomorrow is not promised. I mean, what do you want to
Exactly.
do? Be 70, 80 years old, starting a business, writing a
God
book?
forbid.
I am so tired of telling people to don't die with a book in you. You
There
know
you
what?
go.
Whatever. I can't.
There you go again. Just go and say it. Say it, Lavenda. Say it. Go ahead. Say, Iceline, you promised to write a book and you haven't completed it.
But
God
you know
bless
what?
America.
You're not.
Here it is, Lavenda. Here it is. God bless America. Everybody see, this is my book. I will get it to you when it's
You
time. Get pregnant today. Do you deliver the baby tomorrow? No. It
no.
takes time.
You have been in labor for a good 8 years. You've been in
Well,
labor for
it must be
8
an elephant then. I don't know.
But you know what? My other woman has been suppressed for
Hmm.
many years. So
Right.
we laugh and joke about this, but so many people in 2020, if it didn't get our attention
Hmm.
about
Right. For
persevering,
real. Hmm.
about some stick to itness, about doing what we need to do in life,
Hmm.
one life, it goes by. Life is long. People say life is short. Life is really long. It just goes by so
Hmm.
quickly. Because, like, especially during
Right.
daylight savings
Right.
time, I was like, 5 o'clock. Why is it dark at 5 o'clock? It's almost like the day is over. But
Absolutely.
we put a lot of
Hmm.
emphasis on time also. If we
Hmm.
would just live like tomorrow is not promised,
Right.
truly live like that. But it's a process because look, I'm 57. This didn't happen overnight. I
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
just recently been enlightened and truly
Hmm.
feel like I can live life for what it is and be who I was created to be without
Absolutely.
giving a damn what anybody
What
says, what
anybody say.
anybody thinks, because all that I've been through, all that
Hmm.
we've been through made us who we are.
Hmm.
The essence of our being is beneath the surface of all of those things that have happened, all the issues of life, all the triumphs, the trials, the tribulations, all the tests that we've gone through. It
Hmm.
made us who we are. It built
Absolutely.
us for what we are supposed to do in life. So I was built for the other woman. No other
Hmm.
woman could have done the other woman. I was
Absolutely not.
probably the one who was living, who was
Hmm.
existing and not living. I was
Right.
the one who was being suppressed. You used to couldn't get me to talk. I was very quiet, but I
No,
had a
yeah,
lot
you're
to
right.
say.
Yeah.
So that's where the writing came from. Writing is
Hmm.
therapeutic for me. So I would say
Hmm.
everything I wanted to say but couldn't say. Now, when I realize, hey, you running out of life, you better use your mouth. You better use your
Yeah.
words. So now I'm in the position. I got a lot of stuff to say. I got
Yeah.
a lot.
You better keep on writing. But Lavinda, as you say, the other woman was something that took time. And I look now where I am with the ministry that God birthed in me, and that's Titus 2 Reloaded. It's the same way. But while I
Yeah,
was home, I was able to get it off the ground. And when I see it coming together, I mean, it's almost like watching, looking at
right.
the sonogram to see the baby grow. And so yeah, I feel like when I get to where I feel like I need to be, it's a lot
Yeah,
more to do. It's more
yeah,
to add to it. It
yes,
doesn't stop because the Other Woman magazine is out there. It doesn't stop
right,
because you broadcast. You do so much yourself, but
right.
it's that's actually when it starts.
Yes,
Because when you
yeah,
get it started, now you can
yeah,
actually work in what it's about.
right,
And so that's
right.
where we are. And I find myself up a lot of nights and I sit in the office and I'm putting stuff together. And I told somebody today, they said, "Oh, you're headed home, you're ready to go home." I said, I leave home to go to work. I mean,
I know.
I leave home and go to work, and I also
Yeah,
leave work to go
to
back to
go
work
to work.
because it's more hours working for yourself than it is
Yeah,
working at a job,
yeah,
you know. And so once all
it
this
is.
comes together, then I'll be able to look back on it and see, why the labor pains were necessary.
But is it going to come together?
It it's certainly going
When
to
is
come
it?
together. It is.
What is going to make it come together?
Well, just getting things in order. Right now, of course, like I told you, I'm looking for a building now. Everything in the background is done. Now it's time to come out. I'm just
Hmm.
sitting here having Braxton Hicks contractions. It's
Yeah,
gonna pop out any second
yeah,
now. So
yeah.
there's other things that has to be done. And in this pandemic, it's hard to move forward in getting places, but for what it's going to do, it's much needed. This is the perfect storm for the business to go forth, for the baby to be birthed. And so once that baby come out, then I'll show you my baby.
And it
You
is
want to
so
see what my
funny.
baby look like
You want to
because
see what the baby looks like. Yeah.
Absolutely. We carry the baby for so long and we're so anxious and sitting on our seat, like, what is this baby going to look like? And after you do the sonogram, you begin to see the hair on it and, you get to see it moving around and different things. And you see it starting to come together. And after a while you do another sonogram and they say, oh, well, look at the baby. It's a boy or it's a
Mm-hmm.
girl. Now they can tell the
Mm-hmm.
sex of the baby. And so I'm at that point now where I can tell the sex of the baby. And now I'm cleaning up. I'm nesting now. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing. I'm nesting. And when you nest, you gotta be ready to go. And I have a
Right.
midwife. I have a midwife to my business, a business partner that helps me pull it out. To
Right.
say, hey, this is
Right.
what you need. I have the
Right.
accountant now. I have everybody in place. And now it just needs to come forth. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how we have to do with life, with our lives. And talking about me again, instead of having all these loose ends, you got to put it together. Because if it's not put together, then you will have a deformed baby. And you got to
Raggedy.
take care of it, even so. And when it
Raggedy.
comes time for that baby to come forth, you got to push. Because if you don't push, they'll cut it out of you. This business I have pushed and it's up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to get to
Mm-hmm.
running.
And
So
I
guys,
asked you that.
that's my thing.
I asked you that because so many other women, including myself, I was there, need to hear
Hmm.
what the process is. Because in the current issue of the other woman, I mentioned being pregnant. And
Really, I haven't even gotten it
yeah,
yet. I need to get over
when
there.
you say push, this platform here, I didn't want to push. I don't like being in the public eye. I like being behind my laptop. I like writing. That's
Hmm.
where I'm comfortable. So when you
Hmm.
push, you come out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
There's so much creativity in us, so many layers in us. And the other woman, as she's peeling and coming out,
Hmm. Hmm.
you have to have the courage to let her have her way. I
Yeah.
didn't want to let her have her way with this. I
Hmm.
this is very has always been difficult for me to be out and in front of people and speak. Even when I was just writing books before the other woman, to be invited to speak at a women's retreat or a church, I would just want to say no because I was
Hmm.
just comfortable being behind the book. So pushing, some of us don't want to push that vision to fruition. You want it, but
Hmm.
you don't want it
She don't want to do
because
the work to get it here.
you don't want to do the work to get it here. And
Hmm.
people, what's that phrase? You see my glory, but you don't know my
You
story.
don't know my
The other
story.
woman, the other woman magazine, it's not a cakewalk. I can't share what I'm not going through. I have
Right.
gone through all of this that I'm
No
willing to
testimony.
share.
Hmm.
My testimony, my
Right.
journey with all of the
Hmm.
obstacles, all of the pain, I had to leave a 20-year marriage for the Other Woman magazine. You want the
Isn't
Other
that
Woman
something?
magazine? You want my walk? Go through the hell that I went through to
Oh
get
my.
here. I didn't want to leave my 20-year marriage. I had to leave it. I had to
Right.
live
Right.
in order
Hmm.
to live my life, to be
Hmm.
fruitful, to breathe.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
had to
It was
leave.
necessary. It was
It was
necessary.
necessary. Nobody wants to leave their marriage. You married
No, that's
before
not.
a
We grow up
lifetime.
as, yeah. We don't want to do that. As little
You don't
girls,
want
we
to do
grow
it.
up to want that family, and
Yes.
on my wedding day, I didn't say, okay, I'm gonna marry you today. I do today, but 26 years from now, I'm gonna walk away from it all. No, it's
I
never
know.
planned.
I
It's
know.
never ever planned, and then heartbreak
Yes.
comes behind it. And
Yes.
so unless you know my story, I'm telling you, and like you
Uh-huh.
say, I mean, I'm up at night, so and when I go and clean this makeup off my face, honey, I got bags under my eyes and stuff going on, honey. This face costs. You hear me? You don't even know. some, some days I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. Just going through the motion. You remember the commercial, the Dunkin' Donut guy, and he's going and make the
Yeah,
donuts,
time to make the
time to
donuts.
make the donuts, and then he started meeting himself going and coming. I find myself
Yeah.
doing that sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded of anything worth having is worth working for.
Yeah.
And you got
Yeah.
to work for it. And this
Hmm.
one thing with Titus 2 Reloaded, I can honestly say I am working for it. I have
Hmm.
worked for it. It has
You have
cost me a
worked a
lot.
long time.
Yes,
Share what Titus 2 Reloaded is. And for those of you just tuning in, Isoline Taylor is a minister. So you all know I don't allow scripture in the Other Woman magazine because I have readers from different religions. I have atheists. The Other Woman magazine speaks to the essence of who we are,
the
not a
woman.
religion, not a particular faith, not any of all of that. And I don't want it to turn into a faith-based magazine. It's enough of those already out there. It's just truth, it's reality, it's life as we know it. And Isoline Taylor has, and the reason I chose Isoline to be on this with me, being a minister, she's real. She's real. Some
That's
ministers
good.
don't want to share or talk about hardship or sex or say certain words. This is life that we're
Yeah,
living.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
life, and people need to know the issues of life because they're not talked about in the
Hmm.
pulpit. And that's why we need these women's groups and platforms like this so we can be transparent, so women can know that they are not alone. So, Isoline, being the founder of Titus 2 Reloaded, let the viewers know exactly what Titus 2 Reloaded is.
Titus 2 Reloaded is a nonprofit organization. I was inspired by my grandmother, who was very instrumental in my life because I was her only girl child at the house for years. And my dad was her only son, and she raised me to be the woman that I am, to not run after the man, to because we're not supposed to run after the man. He's supposed to find us. And she was the perfect example of what a Titus 2 woman was in the Bible. And so all the years she taught me that, the Lord just laid on my heart that there was such a need. I would speak to different women in different places and different conferences I was at, and I'd meet women in the grocery store, and they just run up to me, and I find myself ministering to them. But it touched my heart when I run into young ladies that don't have any direction, because that is so left out. And then they look, and oftentimes I'm in the store and I haven't mentioned that I'm a minister. I hear people out there that know me, they know that I'm a minister. However, when someone hear that you're a minister, they want to shut up and they want to stop talking. Well, you shut up and stop talking, because the one thing Titus 2 it has done is we've I worked with young ladies alongside them and taught them the basics of how to be the wife, how to be the mother to their children. And so what Titus 2 is, we're working with young ladies to help them develop them into a woman unapologetically, to be the woman that she was called to be, to work the ministry if she chooses to work the ministry, to live the life that God has chose for her to live. And so that's what we do right now. And we get out and we feed the homeless, and I have women that I'm in touch with every day, young ladies that call me, and I minister to them over the phone. Now, not every day it's a ministry of church ministry thing. Like Lavinda say, it's some uncut stuff that goes on, but that's what they need. And so what I do, I meet them at their point of need. I meet them wherever. I don't care where they are. I meet them at their point of need. If you're on a harlot on the street, I meet them at their point of need. I service them. And so that's what Titus 2 is about. It's about training up the woman in the way that they should go in their lives as a young woman to be the mother to their child. Because we have so many women out there, single parents out there is my target, the single parents out there that have school age children that are living under bridges, in their
Mhm.
cars, they're in
Mhm.
someone else's houses. And what I want to do is to grab a hold to these women, work with them, and bring them from homelessness to self sufficiency. And in that
Mhm.
and all that, it helps them to find themselves and to find
Mhm.
what God wants them to do in their lives.
Mhm.
non-denominational stuff. If you're a Christian, fine, that's good. But if you're not a Christian, that's even the better, because that's who I'm out here for. Those who
Mhm.
want to find themselves, those who want to find God. And if you choose not to, let me just help you be self-sufficient. Because along the way, you're going to pick something up if you're around me. You're going to pick it up. So that's why I try
Mhm.
to live my life unapologetically, so that these women can see that you can still be a minister and yet win someone over. Because let me tell you
Mhm.
something, I wasn't always saved. I wasn't always
Ooh,
saved. And
you
I
got a
lived a life.
story.
Yeah, I got a story. I
You
wasn't
got a
always saved.
story.
Let me tell
Mm.
you. And it's days where I have to take my earrings off and let people know, look, you don't even know who you're playing with. Okay? Please, let's
Yes,
not go there, because I'm
yes,
okay. I'm okay. But
yeah.
I'm just grateful to Lavenda and the other woman for having me on here, and to share what we're doing. Y'all keep ears and eyes out and open for us, because we're going to open up hopefully soon, is what I want to say, but whatever God says. I'm looking
Mhm.
mid-year next year, but this is the perfect storm for what Titus 2 is doing.
That's wonderful. That is
Yes,
wonderful.
ma'am.
And you know what? This is part of being in labor. You're nesting
Yeah,
now, and this is
yeah.
coming to you have wanted this for so long. So even to be on
Girl,
the
18 years.
sidelines watching it, to be on the sidelines watching it come to fruition, Isolina, it's a blessing. And that's part of the other woman is to share as women share their articles, share their stories,
Mm-hmm.
share their hardships with the other
Mm-hmm.
woman magazine. And for those who don't know it, the other woman is not just my story. There are articles from women across the United States and men also who are just sharing their thoughts. This is just another platform to be a voice on womanhood and the issues of life, to live
Mm-hmm.
that fulfilled life, to live that one life that we have unapologetically, without
Yeah.
regrets, and to be. So, if you ever want to share your story, and you do have to purchase a copy of the Other Woman magazine to see what the format is, to see what the writing style is. It's not a place to preach or teach. It's a
Mm-mm.
place where you share your story. The articles are written in the first person, and it's your story. It's what you've been through, so other women can learn from it, men and women. We open up our lives and allow other women to look into our lives and learn from it. And some of the men that are writing and submitting articles, I so appreciate them and their views on womanhood and what they're learning about women just by reading the magazine. So we thank all of you. And as we close, I want to thank my sponsor, Attorney Robert Allen, who serves the Pensacola and surrounding areas. Why Robert Allen? Everyone sees him on my Facebook. What is it with Robert Allen? Robert Allen was my divorce lawyer. Robert Allen was my divorce lawyer. And
Ah,
he made the process so easy for me. And no, I am not promoting divorce, but I couldn't have chose a better lawyer. I couldn't have chose a more efficient, professional lawyer. And he doesn't do just divorce. He does criminal defense, personal injury, police misconduct, and much more. So, you all, there is help out there if you need it on all areas of life. Go to the candypublishing.net to purchase, or if you purchase a copy of the Other Woman magazine, you can get the debut issue electronically for free. So if you purchase any issue, I will send you the electronic issue of the debut issue, which is my favorite issue. They're all good and they seem to get better with each issue.
get
But
better.
that debut issue is the baby. That's the one that
Mm-hmm.
just really shares why I started it and who the other woman is and everything. So I encourage you to share your story. And our next one, Iceland, we have a guest coming On the next show,
Hmm.
I'm not going to share the name. I'll do a little advertisement so everyone can see who the guest is. And if you would like to be a guest on Can We Talk, and you have something that you want to share with about womanhood, or share your story, or how you encounter your other woman, we invite you to join us. So, Isolina, closing remarks. I gave you
Well,
closing
I
remarks.
have a question for someone
Okay.
out there that may want to know if they have a story, how would they submit that story to you?
Go to candypublishing.net, or you can email me at candypublishing, the number one, at gmail.com. Um, a lot of articles are submitted that I don't use.
Hmm.
That's why I say get a copy of the Other Woman magazine so you can see
So
the
you can see the
format.
format.
I will let you know what the word count is. Like I said, I don't scripture. Not to say that I'm not a believer. It's not a faith-based magazine. It's just real talk. Sometimes we have to learn how to share our faith without scripture. I call it a walking t-shirt, a Christian t-shirt. I don't want to be a t-shirt Christian. My life, the life I live, is my testimony. You know,
Hmm.
it's easy to talk about it. And you don't have to understand. This is what God gave me for the other woman. This is the vision that He gave me for this magazine, with this picture of the flower that people
A
don't
rose.
understand, you know, a rose. But what people see is what you see. But that was all in the plan also. And for those of you who do not know, the rose is very similar to a woman's reproductive. We have similarities.
Hmm.
If you look down at the little green part at the base of this flower that I'm showing, that's the ovula and an ovary. We share the same reproductive, whatever I'm trying to say. It's similarities there. So there's a method, there's a reason behind this cover, this beautiful cover that so many people have an issue with. But you know what? When you're led to do something, so this is where I am. I will
Hmm.
put that in your face. You will see it all over social media, and I am proud of it. I
That's
am
right.
so proud of that cover.
Hmm.
And just think about the rose and how it's made, and what a rose does to a woman, how we feel when
Hmm.
we receive a rose, all the many different colors and smells of a rose, and how a rose will say so much without words. So that's all explained in the debut issue. And there's
Hmm.
an article in the debut issue that titled, Is That a Vagina? Because
Right.
that's the question I'm always asked. If you see a vagina, you see a vagina, okay? But it is a rose. It's a
Mm.
rose, but you can get the debut issue to find out. Okay, closing remarks, Isolina.
And Livin, again, I appreciate you having me here. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna close out. But in finding me, I have found out that I like to have fresh roses. So I go
Mm,
and buy my own roses. Every
mm,
time I'm in the well, not every time I'm in the grocery store because but every 2 weeks or so, I have a fresh dozen of roses. I just throw the other ones out today. Tomorrow,
wow,
I'll be in the store and I get fresh roses, and I love my fresh cut roses. And I didn't know that until I started to retreat.
wow.
So, with that said, all the ladies out there, find your what do you like? Why do you like this? And if you don't know why you don't like something, or there's not one particular thing that you can hang in there and make yourself happy, my roses make me happy. That's my happy. And they smell good. So I encourage you guys to just find yourself, and somewhere along the way, I'm gonna run into me and I'm gonna hold on to her and never let her go.
Yes,
But I
yes,
do find my
yes.
retreat time. Find you some time, some quiet time, so that you can hear yourself thinking, because it's so much going on, and the reason you can't hear is because of that stuff. all the
That's
clutter, all that stuff.
that's
Again, thank you,
yes, yes.
Lavinda, the Other Woman magazine. Thank all of you that's out there, and we'll see y'all next week.
And remember to meet the other woman,
The Other Woman.
embrace the other woman, and free the other woman. Until next time, you guys have a good night.